Okay, one quick caveat before we start this video. This microphone, of course, I don't really like the way it sounds, but this video makes it sound way worse than it actually sounds. It doesn't sound great in the first place, but the way I had it connected is through the 3.5 millimeter input front panel of my computer, and that introduced so much noise that I had to turn on the noise canceling feature of my integrated sound card, and that introduced a bunch of digital artifacts that made it sound, yeah, like really terrible. So keep that in mind. It's not a great sounding microphone in the first place, but it sounds even worse in this video than it should have, so there's that. Also, sorry my vocals are distorted through the whole entire thing. I'm still trying to figure out my DBX channel strip. So all right, with that, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's talk about your home recording studio. Today, let's do a follow-up on the super duper cheap Neewer NW-800 microphone. Okay, the first thing I want to address is the power requirements of it. So in my original review, in my original video, I had mentioned that you have to use an XLR to XLR cable with it because you needed 48 volts of phantom power in order to power it. It turns out that's not true. This mic can actually be operated off of the 3 volt or 5 volt from the microphone input of your computer, of your integrated audio card. And so that's why they supply the XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable in the box with the microphone. So right now I've got it plugged in that way. Right now you're not hearing through this right now. You're actually hearing through my boom mic, but I've got it plugged in to the front panel microphone input of Mr. Music Machine 2000 here. And let's take a look down here. So this is the other side of the XLR that's plugged into the microphone. That's just going into the mic in, if you can see it here. And yeah, I can't really quite get focus there. And then I've just got a headphone out going into the back of my recorder here, just so you can hear what I'm doing. So right now you're actually hearing audio from my boom mic up over here, which is a Shure SM81 that I've just got up out of frame here. So this is kind of like the entry level way to plug in, an entry level mic, right? No audio interface, no phantom power or anything, just going off of the 3 to 5 volts that's supplied by your integrated sound card. So let's have a quick listen of how this sounds. Okay, so now I'm just hearing myself very delayed from this microphone, and that's what you're hearing as well. I can't listen to myself delayed and talk at the same time. So yeah, you can get an idea for the sound quality of the mic, and now that you were just listening to this mic and you could hear what. Okay, so it's not a fair fight. This is a $20 microphone versus a $350 microphone. Okay, yeah, not a fair fight, but I think it does kind of illustrate how far this thing has to go in order to be an acceptable vocal mic. Now, if you're doing things like, game casting or talking on Skype or something, sure, it's okay. But really, the sound quality of this thing is just not very good, and I just can't really recommend it. But at $20, there's nothing else it's competing with in that price range that even you could call a microphone. So I don't know. I understand why people like this thing just because the price is very attractive. But if you've only got $20 to spend on a microphone, I say keep saving and buy something better. So yeah, you can hear what it sounds like. So while I've got the mic going here, let's take a look at a couple of the other points that I wanted to hit in this follow-up review. So as far as the power requirements, yeah, you can see we're operating off the 5 volts off my front panel here. So and it's working. It's fine. I have to crank up the gain a little bit. One thing to note here. So I am using this through the direct sound drivers. So let's actually take a quick look at what I'm having to do. Oh, come on, scoot over. There we go. I have the recording volume almost all the way up, and I have plus 30 dB of gain on it. And that's one thing that they make mention of in the instruction manual, the spec sheet, is that if it's receiving less voltage, yeah, it's going to have less output. So you're going to need to crank up the gain. Well, one problem with that is when you crank up the gain, you crank up any noise, the noise floor, along with it. And let's have a listen to this. You won't believe this. So right now, I have the noise suppression, which is a feature of my sound card. And I can't guarantee that your integrated sound card is going to have the same feature, but let me turn this thing off and listen to this. So here it is without the noise suppression. It actually helped the latency a little bit, just a little bit. But that's unacceptable. Like, you wouldn't be able to use that for voiceover or vocals in a mix or anything. That is so noisy. So let's turn that noise suppression back on. Okay. Yeah, that did increase the latency just a little bit, but I mean, that really wipes out the noise. That's actually pretty amazing. That's very effective, compared to that. Nobody wants that in their vocal track. But okay, all right, that's good. So yeah, using it from that 5-volt front panel, it may not be ideal for you because you may end up having to turn it up, so crank the gain so much that you crank up that noise along with it, and that just makes it unusable. So other power requirements, if you're using an audio interface that's delivering 48 volts of power, yeah, that's fine. So I actually went around and measured the phantom power output of my various preamps in my room here, and between my Zoom H4n Pro recorder, it was outputting, pretty close to 48 volts, and this mic worked fine on it. My BAE 1073 was outputting a little over 48 volts, and this mic worked fine on it. My RME Fireface UCX interface, the integrated preamps of that, outputting right around 48 volts, and this thing, of course, worked fine on it. It's this DBX. It's like an old 1990s model DBX. And this thing, for some reason, only outputs 14 volts of phantom power. And again, I plugged this thing into it, and yeah, it worked fine. So that's one definite benefit of this mic, is it's very forgiving when it comes to how much power you're giving it. So definite plus there, I guess. That still doesn't make up for the awful sound quality, but whatever. So the other kind of big thing that I wanted to tackle here, let's get off of this and back to the boom mic, because this is kind of driving me nuts. So the other kind of big thing I wanted to hit was the specification sheet, the spec sheet that comes with this thing, and I'll toss up a graphic of it so you can kind of see it in detail. And I have to say, this is one of the most entertaining works of fiction reading that I've read in a long time. So let's go over a couple of the things. Okay, number one, look at the frequency response curve. And let's go back to this mic now. Okay, now listen to my voice through this mic and look at this frequency response curve. Does this mic really sound like it is almost linear down to like 30 or 40 hertz? No, it does not. There's no way there's that much low end sensitivity in this mic. And then look at the high end. It's saying there's a little dip around 5K, and then even a presence rise at 10K. Does anything about the sound of this mic make you think 10K presence rise or anything? No, it doesn't. It sounds more like a guitar speaker where there's just nothing above like 5K or 6 or 7K maybe. I mean, it has no high-end definition and no low-end definition. It was I had to laugh as JD in the comments of that original video called it's a tube screamer for vocals, and really it kind of is. It's all mid-range. It's just mid-range focus. And then they can't quite make up their mind on the directionality of it. So under technical parameters, they say it's a supercardioid condenser microphone. Okay, like I can buy that, supercardioid. So what that means is with a cardioid, it means that it is most sensitive directly in front of it. And it's still relatively sensitive off to the sides a little bit, but then it is extremely insensitive to signals coming from directly behind it. So you kind of point the back of it towards anything that you don't want to pick up. That would be a cardioid. So a supercardioid, it's a little tighter pattern, so it's still sensitive directly in front, but it's a little bit better at rejecting off-axis sounds. So as you kind of get off to the side of it here, it's going to be much less sensitive than if you were just directly in front of it. But the supercardioid also has a little bit of sensitivity in the back, so it's not quite as good at rejecting sounds directly behind it. So okay, like I could totally buy that. And here, let me actually listen to myself here. So here's just directly in front, and I've got a this latency is driving me nuts. So here's directly in front, and then we'll kind of scoot around to the side, and you can kind of hear the level drop off a little bit. It's not insensitive to here, but it's not quite as sensitive as it is to me in front. I can't easily get around to the back of it here, but it should be, much less sensitive way back here, but not totally insensitive. So here we are back in the front. So the benefit of a supercardioid over a cardioid pickup pattern, for most of us, that's actually probably a better thing, because it is a little less sensitive around the sides, which means it's going to be a little less sensitive to sounds bouncing around the room. So it's going to be a little drier sounding, which is pretty good. Okay, and they also mentioned that the frequency response is 20 hertz to 16 kilohertz. Again, listen, does this sound like 20 hertz to 16 kilohertz? No, it does not. That's got to be just outright false. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. Just a few final thoughts. This microphone is definitely marketed towards like the broadcasting community, like the podcaster, the gamecaster, that kind of thing. And for those purposes, I would find it more appropriate. It's no secret, I don't like this mic. I just don't like anything about it. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of a home recorder who's recording music, and so acoustic instruments and musical vocals, and not just spoken word kind of communication. For those purposes, the mic is too colored. It's not nearly natural enough, and it doesn't have lifts in the right places and cuts in the right places. It just sounds odd. And it's not going to be for anybody that's looking to record vocals or acoustic instruments. It's set to music. It's just not a musical sounding mic. Maybe it's a special effect or something. You kind of get that megaphone, telephone kind of sound to it. Maybe. It's definitely geared more towards that podcaster, broadcaster, gamecaster kind of segment. And even for that, I think the mic is so colored, it's so missing lows and highs, that I don't really think that it would even be appropriate for that. So really, if you only have the $20, I would keep saving and save up and buy something better, something more appropriate. Because really, I think ultimately you're going to be let down by the sound quality of this mic. And that's just me. I read reviews everywhere online. You can just go to Amazon and look at all the 5-star reviews that this thing gets, which is just amazing. that there are so many people in the world that thinks that this is a 5-star microphone, and price considered, okay, it's a really good deal, but you can do so much better. You can do your music so much of a bigger favor by finding something better. Now, what would I recommend instead? Well, at the $20 price point, nothing. There, maybe the NW-700 or I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss there of what else to recommend. Really, I would just recommend you keep saving and, double or triple the amount of money. Instead of the $20 on this, spend $50 on a Behringer C1 or one of the Samson or Nady mics even though I'm no fan of those either. Get up in the $60 range, and you've got, MXL starts to come into play there with a 990 and a few other microphones. Get up to $100, and you're talking the Audio-Technica 2020, which it's just a far superior mic in every way. And at about $120, I think, maybe $150, is like the Lewitt LCT 240 Pro, which is just a magnificent mic for the money. And then up in like the $250 range, you've got the Lewitt LCT 440, which I'm a huge fan of. I own one and I love it. It's great for vocals. It has all the right things that make vocals sound like records, as Warren Hewitt would say. And then if you get up above 250, you can get into like the Rode microphones, and those are going to be very flattering to the human voice as well. There are just so many better options that if you're just patient and you save a little, I think in the long run, you're going to be happier than just taking the $20 you have and buying this if you're trying to do home recording for music, for vocals. All right, I'm going to shut up now. I think I've covered everything I want to cover here. So if you have any further questions, anything else you'd like me to do with this mic, because honestly, I don't know what the heck to do with it now. It's not really even worth giving away because I can't really stand behind it because I just don't like it. And I wouldn't really want to saddle anybody with it. So if you have any other questions or anything, any ideas, maybe any ideas for mods or anything, maybe I can modify it, see if I can improve it or something. Yeah, put them down in the comments below and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, for subscribing, and all that business. And I will talk to you guys next time.